For £34, you get exactly 40 millilitres of this. That works out at 85 pence per milliliter. Now at that price point, a fragrance either has to genuinely punch above its weight, or you're essentially paying for a pretty bottle and a famous name stitched onto the label. Choo Eau de Parfum has been sitting in handbags and on dressing tables since 2011, and here's what I find fascinating: most people who own it couldn't tell you what's actually in it. They just know it smells expensive. So today I'm going to pull that apart, note by note, hour by hour. And I'll tell you right now, there is something that happens on the dry down of this fragrance that completely changed how I feel about it. Stay with me. Jimmy Choo. You hear that name and you think shoes. Heels. The kind of footwear that turns a pavement into a runway. The brand was founded in 1996 by Malaysian couturier Jimmy Choo and Vogue accessories editor Tamara Mellon, and it built its entire identity on glamour with an edge. Aspirational but wearable. Luxurious but not cold. When they moved into fragrance, they brought that same philosophy with them. The first Jimmy Choo fragrance launched in 2011, and it wasn't trying to be niche or intellectual. It wasn't trying to challenge you. It was trying to make you feel like the best version of yourself at a party you actually wanted to be at. That is a specific and legitimate ambition in perfumery. Not every fragrance needs to be a philosophical statement. Some fragrances just need to be beautiful and confident and right for the moment. What's interesting about the Jimmy Choo fragrance house is how consistently they've stayed in their lane. Feminine leaning, warm, polished, with a slightly fruity modernity. They don't overcomplicate things. And for a brand that came to perfumery from fashion rather than from a long heritage in the craft, the restraint is actually quite impressive. This original eau de parfum remains the blueprint everything else in their range is measured against. Let's talk about the bottle, because with Jimmy Choo, the visual language matters. The 40 milliliters comes in that signature flacon, and it is genuinely beautiful. The glass has real weight to it, more than you'd expect at this price. There's a leopard print pattern worked into the base of the bottle, which could have gone terribly wrong and somehow doesn't. It feels more like texture than print, more like a design decision than a gimmick. The cap is weighty too, with a satisfying click when it seats properly. The overall silhouette is curved and feminine without being fussy. It's the kind of bottle you leave out on display rather than hiding in a drawer. It communicates exactly what the fragrance wants to communicate: fashion house glamour, accessible luxury, a certain confident femininity. The outer box is sleek, predominantly black with gold lettering. It feels premium when you open it. The 40 milliliter size is actually a really sensible format. It's travel-friendly, it's a comfortable size to commit to if you're trying a new fragrance, and it sits at a price point that doesn't feel like a gamble. The packaging absolutely earns its place on a dressing table. It would sit beautifully next to something like YSL or Valentino without looking out of place. Right. The first spray. This is the moment that either wins you over or sends you scrolling for something else. I'll be honest, the opening of Jimmy Choo EDP is bold. It announces itself. There's an immediate burst of fruity brightness, and the note that hits first is a sharp, almost electric pear combined with what smells like tiger orchid, exotic, slightly green, slightly tropical. It's a head-turning opening. The kind of thing that makes people in the same room actually look up from what they're doing. The projection in those first few minutes is genuinely impressive for the price. This is not a skin scent at the opening. This fills space. There's also a subtle pink pepper thread running underneath that stops it from being pure sweet fruit. It gives it a tiny bit of edge, a small sharpness. That keeps things interesting and prevents that opening from being cloying. Is it groundbreaking? No. Is it original? Not entirely. This style of fruity-floral opening was very much of its time when it launched. But does it smell good? Absolutely yes. There's a confidence to it. It's unapologetic. It wants to be noticed. As the top notes settle, and this happens relatively quickly, within 15 to 20 minutes, the heart starts to emerge, and this is where Jimmy Choo EDP really finds its character. The floral heart is dominated by a rich, lush tiare flower accord, and it is gorgeous. Tiaré is a Tahitian gardenia, and it has this quality of being simultaneously tropical and elegant. It doesn't smell like a floral arrangement on a desk, it smells like something you'd encounter on a warm evening somewhere beautiful. There's a soft jasmine quality running alongside it, lending a classic femininity, but the Tiaré is the star. What surprised me in the heart is how seamlessly the fruity opening hands over to the floral middle. A lot of fragrances in this genre have an awkward transition moment where you can almost hear the gears grinding as one phase gives way to another. Jimmy Choo manages it gracefully. The pear doesn't disappear abruptly, it softens and blends into the floral, leaving just enough brightness to keep the heart feeling fresh rather than heavy. By the 45-minute mark, you're wearing something that genuinely smells luxurious. That's the honest word for it. It smells like something that costs more than it does. Now, this is the part one told you to stay for, and I meant it. The dry down of Jimmy Choo EDP is, for me, the most impressive chapter of this fragrance's story. After about 3 hours, the base starts to dominate, and what you're left with is a warm, honeyed, slightly smoky amber anchored by a rich patchouli and a skin like musk. Here's the thing about patchouli, used badly, it smells like a head shop in 1974. Used well, it adds depth and warmth and a quiet sensuality that is genuinely hard to replicate with anything else. Jimmy Choo uses it well. The patchouli here is smooth and rounded, not sharp or earthy, and it works in perfect balance with the amber and the indulgent honey note that weaves through the base. The musk is the real secret weapon. It pulls everything close to the skin. After 4 or 5 hours, this fragrance becomes almost intimate. You're not projecting it across a room anymore, you're wearing it like a second skin. And that transition from bold opener to intimate dry down is genuinely elegant. It's the difference between a good fragrance and a great one. I didn't expect to be this impressed by the dry down. And that's my honest truth. Let's get into the numbers, because this is where a lot of people make buying decisions. On skin, I'm getting a solid 6 to 7 hours from this before it becomes a true skin scent. And even then, up close, there's still something there. On clothing, a jumper, a scarf, a coat collar, you'll get significantly more. I've had this last into the following day on fabric. Sillage, the trail this leaves, is moderate to strong in the first 2 hours. Walk past someone in a corridor wearing this and they will notice. By hour 3 it starts to pull back and become more personal. By hour 5 it's a close skin experience. For time of day, this fragrance peaks in the evening. It's not a fragrance that feels right under fluorescent office lighting at 9 in the morning. It's made for dim lighting, for going out, for the kind of evening where you want to feel polished and noticed. Autumn and winter are its best seasons. That warm amber and patchouli base needs cool air to really sing. In the height of summer it can feel a touch heavy, though a lighter application handles that. Let me paint you a picture. 2 pictures, actually. First picture, you're the kind of person who buys a new dress for a birthday dinner and wants a fragrance that matches that energy. You don't want to smell like you're trying too hard, but you absolutely want people to know you made an effort. You appreciate glamour, but you're not precious about it. This is your fragrance. Second picture, you're building a fragrance wardrobe and you want something that covers the social, the celebratory, the date night. You don't have hundreds to spend on niche houses, but you refuse to smell generic. You want something that holds its own in any room. Jimmy Choo EDP earns its place in that wardrobe. Now, who should not wear this? If you're drawn to clean, aquatic, minimalist fragrances, think David off cool water territory or airy white musks, this will feel overwhelming and overly sweet to you. If you prefer green, herbal, or chyper-style scents, the warmth here will feel wrong. And if you're allergic to anything that reads as overtly glamorous or fashion-forward, you'll find this too obvious. This fragrance is not subtle. It doesn't try to be. If subtle is what you need, keep looking. Right. The numbers. £34 for 40 millilitres. That's 85 pence per milliliter, as I mentioned at the top. Now let's put that in context. For a designer eau de parfum from a genuine fashion house, that is genuinely strong value. You're in the territory of comparable offerings from Guess or Dupe at that price point, but you're getting quality that feels closer to the lower end of Lancôme or Yves Saint Laurent. The liquid inside this bottle punches above its price tag. I'll say that plainly.
Are you paying for the name?
Partially, yes, you always are with designer. But unlike some brands where the name is doing 90% of the heavy lifting, here the juice is doing at least 60% of the work. That's a reasonable split. Cheaper alternative that scratches a similar itch, have a look at Ariana Grande Cloud EDP if you love warm, sweet, gourmand-adjacent florals at an even lower price point. It doesn't have the same elegance on the dry down, but if the budget is tight, it's worth knowing about. You can pick up the 40ml Jimmy Choo EDP directly from P11, that's p-11.com, who stock it at £34. Link is in the description. Straightforward, reputable UK retailer. My score, 7.5 out of 10. Here's why it's not higher: the opening, while good, is not original. This style of fruity-floral opener has been done many times and done better in some cases. But the heart and dry down are genuinely impressive at this price, the longevity is solid, and the overall experience is more cohesive and elegant than it has any right to be at £34. 7.5 is a strong, honest score. This earns it. Jimmy Choo Eau de Parfum is a fragrance that starts confidently, finds real beauty in its heart, and earns genuine respect on the dry down, and it does all of that for less than most people spend on a round of drinks. That is not nothing. If you own this already, I want to know one thing specifically: did that dry down, that warm amber and patchouli base, justify the purchase for you, or did you end up reaching past it for something else? Drop that in the comments, I read every single one. If honest fragrance reviews with no filler and no hype are what you're after, subscribe, I post every week and there is always something worth your time.